Infanticide is the killing of a born child. Whether that killing is accomplished by a direct act on the part of someone, or whether ordinary care, such as feeding, vital to the child's survival, is refused. It makes little difference whether infanticide is direct or indirect. Either way, a child is being killed. There is a strange silence on the part of the law in reference to the fact that infanticide is being practiced today, quite openly, by members of the medical profession. In an effort to educate the medical profession in the art of infanticide, a documentary was produced by the Johns Hopkins Hospital and Medical School entitled Who Should Survive? In it, a newborn infant with Down syndrome, which you may call Mongolism, was permitted to die by inattention. I suspect starving to death is a better way to say this.
Euthanasia, abortion, and infanticide are not just questions for the immediate family, nor just for the medical profession, nor just for a few influential people. These are life and death questions for the whole human race, and they must be treated that way. Small pressure groups begin their arguments with both the legislators and the public, using extreme examples. But as soon as these are accepted, these are then expanded, and they become common practice. Abortion is an example. This is no longer considered something extraordinary. It is now often accepted as a casual form of birth control. The pattern concerning infanticide is the same. At first, the argument comes from those who want to eliminate certain patients who they harshly call vegetables. But soon this is expanded to get rid of almost any unwanted child who's unwanted for almost any reason. The same is true in the discussion concerning ideals in these matters. At first, we hear much talk about compassion for the unwanted. But soon this turns into a discussion of so-called rights, my rights. And then this slides into sheer economics. These life and death issues are being decided by those who are vocal enough to get the results they wish to get at the moment. Beware of these things. The discussion of life must be brought back to the place to which it belongs. Not a question of a few emotional extreme examples. Not a question of selfish rights. And certainly not economics. These things must be discussed and decided upon the basis of right and wrong, not expediency. In the first episode, I pointed out that we live in a time of arbitrary sociological law. That is, the law has become just what the majority of society thinks is for their good at the given moment. Arbitrary abortion has opened the door wide for sociological medicine, not just for the yet unborn, but for the whole human race. These life and death issues are being decided upon the basis of statistics, of economics, and the so-called good of society at that given moment. I want to introduce you to my friend Craig. He was a student of mine in Switzerland, is a graduate in philosophy at Cal State, and is now a theological student at Covenant Seminary. He was born without a left leg and without arms below the elbows. Today, in some hospitals, Craig would have been deliberately allowed to starve to death at birth. Allowing malformed babies to starve to death or removing treatment is not only a thing of the future, it is accepted now in many quarters. All that is left for the future is for this to become totally accepted and eventually, for economic reasons, mandatory by an increasingly authoritarian government in an increasingly selfish society. Many believe now that the doctor and the state should let a child die if the parents so choose. Almost everyone who talks about life not being worth living for the seriously handicapped person does so out of pure theory. Craig is in a good position to be able to tell us about the reality of life as a handicapped person. What do you think about the people who are saying today that people who are born with severe birth defects the way you were born should just be eliminated and taken out of society?
I think they don't really understand that they're talking about people, and they can only see the severe birth defects and the handicaps that are there, and they can't see that really what they're talking about is murder. I know when I was born, my dad, the first thing that he said to my mom after he had seen me is that this one needs our love more. And I think that that's the reaction that we have to have, that there's an individual there who does have a handicap, but it's an individual that needs our love and needs us to help build him and help him to grow into the being that God has made him to be. I think that they're making a terrible mistake, that they're looking at the handicaps, the severe handicaps that these children have, instead of looking at the fact that they're human beings, that they're babies, and they're destroying, or they're advocating that we destroy them before they're even given a chance to live and conquer their handicaps and to really do something here while they're here on earth. They're advocating that we eliminate something that God has given us, somebody that's very beautiful. I'm very glad to be alive. I live a full, meaningful life. I have many friends and many things that I want to do in life. I just would hate for that to be taken away for a moment. I'm very thankful that God has given me the life that He has given me.
That's wonderful.
I think the secret of living with a handicap is realizing who you are, that you're a human being, that you're somebody who's very special, and not looking at yourself always in terms of the handicap that you have, always in terms of the things that you can't do, but always looking at the things that you can do and the things that you're going to do in spite of your handicap and maybe even through your handicap.
You'll eat all of it, so no, the chicken over here. Okay. Yeah. I have to get some spices also. That should do. They should, that time. Yeah. But you know, Bert, neither one of us have that color eyes. I think we really should get something else that's more us. Don't you think?
Sure. Another one?
Yeah, right. No, I think this one is good. I like the color of her hair also. Yes, that's good. You notice the price?
$2.
Okay, that should do it. We'll have to get some food for her, though. And I can't think of anything else that we might need. Let's go.
Great.
Well, we'll take some of these because it's time for me to clean the stove, you know.
Okay, fine.
And I'm starving, so let's get home and get on our way.
Great.
So hungry
Not long ago, slavery was practiced in the United States. It was rooted in economics. Black men and women have been arbitrarily classified by a white society as non-human for economic convenience. In pre-Victorian America, it was economically expedient to breed as many slaves as possible. Today, in the space age, it is economically expedient to abort unwanted fetuses and eliminate imperfect babies. Apparently, in every age, there's always someone branded as subhuman. It once was the black, later the Jew, Today, it is the unborn and the child. The Supreme Court of the United States, in the Dred Scott decision, upheld the fiction with a ruling declaring the black person to be chattel property. Well, we'll note that, historically, the Supreme Court has been wrong more than once. There were many churches during the Civil War era that either passively accepted the enslavement of their fellow human beings or even justified it. Those short-sighted churches have their counterparts today. There are certain segments of the church which are in favor of infanticide. A task force of the Anglican Church in Canada came to the conclusion in August of 1977 that it could be morally right to terminate the life of a newborn infant born with serious brain damage. The callousness of the report is shown by the phraseology. They said, "Our senses and emotions lead us to the grave mistake of treating human-looking shapes as if they were human, although they lack the least vestige of human behavior and intellect. In fact, the only way to treat such defective infants humanly is not to treat them as human." The task force was made up of those coming from the backgrounds of theology, medicine, nursing, and law. That people from these backgrounds could give such a report is astounding. This is humanism, bringing forth inhumanity. The language of these people should remind us of the language and the sentiments of those in the past who defended slavery and who tried to prove that the black man was not human. The fact that these people can use the church as their vehicle is especially alarming. Those who propagate such theories, and those even who just don't bother to think about them, have an ample warning from history if they would only listen to history. Doctors and nurses should know from the past how fallible such decisions are and how destructive pop science theories are about human worth. The lawyers should be utterly appalled at beginning to let down the bars on killing any human being on the basis of the quality of life. And finally, these theologians have obviously forgotten God's view of the worth of every human being as made in the image of God. If these same theologians no longer believe in such a God, they should not hide in the respectable womb of the church, using it as a platform to propagate their discriminatory ideas. If the church wants to be remembered as more than a silent accomplice to these murderous inhumanities, it had better stand up and be counted. The same is true of those in the secular world who believe in the preciousness of each human life. How long can we remain silent? At present, those who actively foster infanticide are growing in numbers and influence. Their views, being hammered at us again and again, are taken a little more seriously each time and becoming a little more thinkable each time. Link this with genetic engineering, the growing power of government, and arbitrary law, and the prospects for the rights of the individual and for humanity are grim. Without the Judeo-Christian basis, which gives an intrinsic dignity to the individual as made in the image of the infinite personal creator, each successive monstrosity slides naturally into place. Here we come to the next logical step of the giving away of the biblical perspective of the uniqueness of mankind, in that men, women, and children are made in the image of God. Humanness is lost step by step. The door is open for abortion on demand, to infanticide, which leads naturally to euthanasia, the killing of the unwanted elderly. This final step of the carrying out of this low view of human life may be closer than we think.